I didn't think I'd see the day where I rated a sci-fi book higher than Rich. Get ready for a hype fest here. We're just us nodding our heads the whole time. That's the biggest stretch in sci-fi is they were able to do this without thumbs. That's not realistic. That's why it's sci-fi. Everything else possible.
That's this.
Yeah.
This is.
If you don't have thumbs, you're screwed.
Yeah, you're gone.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another Tutor Ramble episode. I'm one of your hosts, Austin.
I'm your other host, Richard.
Today, we are talking spoiler-free and spoilers. We will go spoiler-free for the first 10 to 15 minutes on the Children of Time. And you children are about to be timed. Does that work?
It's a little weird.
Oh, wait. No, I don't mean it like that. No. What I mean is you people out there, this book's probably not for children.
Probably not.
Probably not.
You're an odd child if this is
or just really intelligent, because I could not read this as a kid.
I don't think this book is particularly bad for children. Loosest definition of child being someone just under the age of 18. Like, I don't know. It's not. Maybe it's not for 4-year-olds, but 12-year-olds?
I would have a tough time understanding this if I was 13 or 14.
Yes, yeah.
I think just last year, I was ready for this book now. That's it. No earlier.
It's hard. It's not graphic or gruesome. It's not inappropriate. It's just difficult.
It's hard sci-fi with your kind of books like Fire Upon the Deep. So if you've read stuff like that, just kind of giving you, let's give basic info. We'll go spoiler-free for a little bit and see exactly who this book is for, because just to give the quick spoiler-free version, read it. I love this book, and I am a character-first reader. The characters don't matter in this book, and I love this book because it did so much for the concepts and not even funky world, the world and the concepts, the thought-provoking message that came across in this was awesome.
I would say the big purpose of sci-fi is to make you think about either think about our future or our nature as humans. That's kind of the two big things I think sci-fi does the best. That's what the genre is for, and this book succeeds at that. If all sci-fi has to offer for a book is, look, they got laser swords. If that's it, didn't need to be sci-fi. This needed to be sci-fi, and I'm glad it is. Little reference to our video we did previously.
Yeah, we were talking about what makes sci-fi on science fiction by C.S. Lewis. Yeah, definitely. And
this would classify under C.S. Lewis as like, this is real sci-fi.
You would say the engineers side of sci-fi. Yeah. So this book was written by Adrian Tchaikovsky. He wrote it in 2015. It's a part of a series, a trilogy, and it's literally called the Children of Time series, the Children of Time trilogy. Second book's called Children of Ruin. Rich and I, we have not read on, so this is only book one stuff. And it won the Arthur C. Clarke Award for those who care about awards. But most importantly, it won the praise from a lot of our patrons, because this was our book club of the month. And it got praise from some, but definitely not the type of read for a lot of people as well. The biggest complaint, and fair enough, was couldn't attach to characters. Couldn't get behind some characters. This is not your Abercrombie, it's not your Sanderson, it's not your Red Rising stuff where you get characters and follow their journey in the world. It's looking at what the theme Tchaikovsky's going for.
You're following a species rather than a character in particular. And I understand when I say that, like, there are characters you follow, but I don't think they're the focus. The focus is the species.
How would you describe the plot to somebody to go, hey, going into this, what do you expect? What's the setup?
This is chapter 1 stuff. I mean, back of the book type spoilers. If you want to go in blind, fine, but light back of the book spoilers.
Just to get someone dip their toe in. That's all.
Dip their toe in.
Yeah.
In the far future of humanity, we now have, due to reasons and things.
Great description. Yes.
There are now two competing intelligent species that have to fight over a livable planet. Intelligent humans, intelligent spiders. There we go. And we get to see the development of how both of those species got to where they are. one regressing, one improving.
Progressing, yeah.
Progress.
Yeah.
One progressing, the other degressing. So that's the book. That's hard to give without actually like much spoiler.
You did a very fair job of that because the first chapter of this book I would say is genius. Some people thought it was a bit fast, but the premise is really hard to explain. It's hard to explain in written form. It's even harder to explain just talking about it. Going, should we even attempt to describe the first chapter? Or just let people be surprised by it.
I'll do my best.
Want to give a shot?
Without giving too much. Yeah.
Don't give too much. But this is just because that's what pulled. I was hooked from the end of chapter 1.
Yeah. Humanity is at the brink. There's a moral dividing line with the future of humanity at stake.
Careful. We're just getting a little far in past chapter 1 stuff, getting a little dicey. Let's walk.
You want to redo that part where, hey, Nick, you want to edit this part? Shoot, yeah, no, it's hard.
Nick will speed through that.
You'll speed, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
so Rich just said nonsense. Okay.
I said nonsense that probably spoiled things. It's probably too much. I maybe were saying some chapter 2 things.
Well, even to back it up more, I think that the initial person you get introduced to is called Avrana Kern. There's this character who is a narcissist. She is an egomaniac, and she wants to use this nanovirus that they have developed to use on terraform planets. This is far future sci-fi. Humanity has gone into intergalactic space, but wants to use this nanovirus that humanity has created to have these monkeys go down to the terraform planet, and wants to use this virus in order to expedite the evolution of these monkeys so that they can spread life from Earth everywhere else. However, there's a faction back on Earth called Non-Ultura Natura, which is against all this kind of science-y trying to manipulate what human beings are and having these monkeys evolve. And this is all chapter 1. They're very against it. And so they cause this intergalactic war against Avrana Kern and these new people who are trying to be these egomaniacs and spread Earth by terraforming planets.
They're trying to
spreading these other
God.
species. Yeah, humanity's trying to become God, and Non-Ultura Natura does not like this. Starts an intergalactic war, taking out all of these terraform colonies. This is right from the get-go. Takes them all out to where the point of humanity is left and essentially wiped out. Even the monkeys that were being sent to terraform that planet get wiped out, except on that planet, there are some other species there. One of those being spiders, and the nanovirus infects those spiders instead. And we find out back on the actual Earth, because of this intergalactic war, went into an ice age where only 1,000 or so humans were left. We were basically brink of extinction. We re-evolved, started to go from nothing, from cavemen back into, from the 1,000 people back into evolving again. But as the toxic waste started to go away, as the ice started to, started to melt, the toxic waste from the war that happened long ago made Earth uninhabitable. So the humans on that planet had to escape. And now they're going out and trying to see what was left of the vestiges of humanity. And they would just have this weird map that goes, hey, there might be some terraform planet over here. They don't even know if it exists because humanity was wiped out everywhere. So you have this pilgrims of humans in the far future of a sci-fi world of where we were super advanced in the past. Does that?
That was a much better job than I did. Fantastic.
But does that?
That's a lot.
I don't even think it spoils it because that's still intro stuff, right?
Yeah, you're not even done with chapter 1.
It's basically, so that's what happens. We have this pilgrimage of humans going like, okay, Earth is dead. They watch it die. Now they're going, and that's it. They're going, and there's these humans that have evolved over thousands of years, but the peak of human civilization was thousands of years ago, which is so, the concept of this is just, we already peaked. There's this old empire and technology that's greater than us. Kind of think in the modern day how we'd look back at the Egyptian pyramids. How did people do it? Like, did we regress? No. I know. Throw slaves at people. I know your thing. Yes.
No. Well, it's that and levers.
Oh. You always throw the curveball at me. You always go on this rant of like, listen, you just throw human suffering and it works, right? And levers, I guess.
It's surprising. Like, levers, pulleys, like, pulleys are impressive things.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's not unimaginable that you could build pyramids. It's more like, that's a lot of people to feed. That's the impressive part.
That's kind of the concept. These pilgrims are going, okay, imagine us being humans here. We don't have all these skyscrapers like technology, and you run into the pyramids and go, whoa, what was humanity capable of back then? It works with that. And it's a whole thing. You put it really well of just humanity tries to become God. And what are the consequences of that? And if any of that hooks you whatsoever, high recommendation, because it's rare you get a book like this that you feel like you get so much new perspective, and working with the what does it mean to be human, what is right and wrong, and a lot on religion, a lot on AI. Oh God. Oh my.
Oh dear, oh my.
Lions and tigers and bear and AI, oh my. So, Rich, with that kind of premise there, who would you recommend this to specifically? We kind of mentioned that hard sci-fi person a bit.
Yeah, in general, if you're there for hard sci-fi, you want a thought-provoking world and concept. You want to think. You want to think about nature of man, humanity, all that, and you're not bothered by a less than, not very grabby main characters, I'd say pick this up. I think if you're into hard sci-fi.
Yeah.
However, I would say Fire Upon the Deep type thing is more complex and harder to read. This was easier to understand. So this is not if you want to try a more hard sci-fi book, this is a good place to start too.
Yeah, that's also very fair. Like this would probably be a better one to start with before Fire Upon the Deep.
Yeah,
in the reading order. Yeah,
I would think so.
But people who love that would likely love this. Not character focused. Don't go in expecting any crazy arcs or riveting character interactions. That's not it. It is going for message. It's going for a message, and this world that it inoculates you in is crazy. I was truly from that first chapter all in, going, okay, I want to see what Tchaikovsky does here. So I loved it. And we also this was our Patreon book club of the month, and we had Emily, who also loved it, and Dump Truck Ryan, who also equally loved it. But we had a couple of naysayers. Kendall, who didn't connect with it because it didn't have character she could get behind. Totally understandable. So there were several people like Kendall who just could care less about the characters and therefore did not enjoy the book as much.
The concepts don't land as well.
Yes.
If you don't connect with the characters. I understand that perspective.
So, Rich, then what would you say is your spoiler-free Rambler rating before we just kind of go all into this book?
My Rambler rating out of 5 is a 4.5. Spectacular book. What did you give it?
I didn't think I'd see the day where I rated a sci-fi book higher than Rich. I gave a 4.75 out of 5 stars. Absolutely incredible. And I give it all that praise too because it does exactly what it's going for. My only 0.25 complaint is very minuscule and just going, okay, it's not the perfect book for me, but it does nearly everything that I'd ever want it to. Mm-hmm. Concept, ideas presented. And also for me, it was weird how there was a little bit in the middle lulled for me, which we'll get into the spoiler part, a little bit in the middle lulled for me, but I have to emphasize the ending is perfect. The ending is actually perfect. So
the ending really does pull it all together.
That's why it maybe would have been a 4 something for me, 4.25 maybe. The ending just, okay, that I can't think of a possible better ending than that.
I'm in agreement with you. I actually was really curious on how the book would end.
Yes.
Ed was going, this is a really good book, but man, how are they going to end this? Like, it seems like it's going to be kind of, there's almost no answer that could be very satisfying. And it's such a satisfying ending. And the more I thought about it in retrospect, going, oh, this is not just an ass pull ending. This made sense. It was well established. So fantastic.
Get ready for a hype fest here. We're just us nodding our heads the whole time. So spoilers. Last thing, I think we kind of said this enough, but best worst categories, we both agree on thought-provokingness being the best category.
Yeah, the best category is thought-provokingness.
I would throw world in there too. But thought-provokingness, I would say, if I had to pick a number 1, I'd go thought-provokingness.
Yeah, I would say thought-provokingness, and then for me, prose.
Okay. Nice.
I really enjoyed the prose with this.
That's great prose. And what would you say worst characters? So we kind of already went over this, yeah.
Yeah. But thing is, they serve the purpose.
They do serve the purpose.
So.
Spoiler warning time. We made it in about 15 minutes. We did our usual. That was good.
Yeah,
not bad. Okay. Spoiler warning if you don't want to be spoiled children of time. But if you're listening on to our stuff and don't care about spoilers, we will do better at giving context. stuff
We
going
always
forward.
try.
I try to remind myself as we get into
It's
these.
good to say it, to remind us, and then if we fail, it's in video that we failed.
Yes.
You know?
So actually, I do forget I say it a lot. Even saying it is hard to remind yourself because there will be videos we did last week, the week before, where we get comments or messages of like, "Oh, Austin, how'd you say that?" I'm like, "What'd I say? What? Wait, what do you mean? Oh, I did say that. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't remember anything out of my mouth after like 5 minutes I've said it.
Do you think that we've said enough things on the podcast to where AI could take and use our entire voice to completely mimic us?
Already has. Didn't you already get scammed?
Actually, yes.
Yeah.
That did happen.
They tried to scam.
They tried to scam my grandparents.
Yeah.
Because they called my grandparents and the AI voice sounded exactly like mine, which they must have, I don't know if they got it from this or something. But
I mean, I don't think there's any other source.
Where else would they get it? I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah. But my grandparents thankfully didn't get fully scammed. They called me, answers like, no, that's not me. That was hectic. Yeah.
Oof.
So going on to emotional impact. What'd you give that out of 5 stars?
I gave this one a 4 out of 5. So another more rare example of emotional impact being a little bit lower than my overall score.
Same here. 4 stars for me. Still great emotion, but not the shining feature of this.
Yeah, there's a couple actual instances where it's not just thought-provoking, but I was really connected with some of the characters.
Yeah.
Mainly the ending got me so emotional, but I was actually connected with not particularly the characters, though there's a couple.
Yeah.
I was connected and emotionally invested in the spiders development. I was waiting for them to succeed. I wanted them to win. And then I was also sympathetic to the humans.
What kind of tone and feel do you think he was going for with all of that? What do you think he wanted you to? He didn't want you going to the spiders going, die, spiders. That's not the feeling he wanted, right?
Yeah, I mean, his whole feeling is trying to make you, hey, if you can sympathize with, what is universally panned as the, scariest or, worst creature on the planet, which most people don't like spiders. Mm. You're supposed to, in this book, he's doing his best to make you sympathize with them and care about them. So, yeah, I mean, that's his feel.
In those spider point of views, you were sympathizing, going, oh, you like seeing spider society grow?
Yeah. That was where I was emotionally invested.
Got it.
How about you?
For me, I wasn't full into feeling sympathetic for the characters or the spiders. I was intrigued. I think the main point he was going for, just what I felt, was a constant interest. I know every book wants you to be interested, so maybe that's a bad word, but for the lack of a better word, intrigue. And then more toward the end, I think he was going for a horror subversion, but horror with subversion, which made the ending scene where we see the humans actually come back. When we get in the plot, we'll break this all down to make it make sense for people, but for people that are just listening on anyways. But for the humans, as they were coming to the terraform planet, and the spiders meet them halfway up there, and they're invading, and we see one of the characters, was their name Vitas or the Vietas, or the one that started with a V, and the spiders coming and attacking, and just the horror. I felt like, oh, this is going to be one of those. It's a Halloween Spooktober type of book. And I was feeling, oh God, this is how humanity ends, by spiders. That's kind of creepy. And then it made it feel so wholesome when they saved us. I'm going, Spidey saved us. It's just the twist it gave me was so delightful. Besides all the message and stuff, I was shocked by it. I went, oh, that's so cool.
Also, what a wholesome ending. From you get to see how spiders developed, and especially from the beginning, like spiders are brutal. Yeah. Like, they're not, it's. You want to think, oh, the spiders are in some way like kinder than humans, and through their development, like they're still spiders. Like a part of spider, like not culture, but like biologically speaking, a lot of female spiders eat the males after they reproduce. Like that's a thing that spiders do, and it carries forward. And it's like you see how brutal spiders can be and how they disregard a lot of they can throw away a lot of lives.
Yeah,
so it's like they can be scary monsters in the beginning, but then by the end, it's pretty darn wholesome. And you're like, oh man, look at how far they've come. It's wonderful.
Would you agree with my graph, if this is on screen, of my emotional, I guess my emotional highs went here. It went kind of beginning and end. The concept I was in and I was invested, and the end satisfied me so much. There was some in the middle that was cool to watch, but your emotional highs for me was the start and finish.
I'd actually disagree with you myself.
Okay.
I personally, where people talk about the lull in the middle, it's where I enjoyed it probably the most, other than the ending. For me, it was just kind of a. It just
went up.
The ending was fantastic. Just blew me away.
Yep.
The beginning was interesting, but a little confused. I needed more, and I was just really invested in the human struggle of just every time. Help me with the name.
Holston.
Yeah. Of him waking up in just a completely different scenario. So I'm invested in the surprise of what the hell humanity is going to go through now next time he wakes up. And then, of course, talk about the spiders.
Yeah.
I was emotionally invested, and I loved seeing all those little moments. So I liked the middle section.
Oh, I liked it too. I'm not saying I didn't like it. I think just maybe that's where the difference is. The beginning also floored me.
Gotcha.
Beginning for you was just kind of cool. I just had that carried me through going, I just trust whatever he's going to do. So even if there was a little bit of a lull, kept me in.
Fair enough.
But so that for emotional impact, anything else you wanted to add? Because I guess the worst thing I could say about it was there was a portion of it where it felt dragging. And if I'm to say the worst thing about it, otherwise that's only if I was being completely critical, but I can't say much else.
Sure. Other than that, it's the emotional. If I were to giving negative, it would be I was more emotionally invested with the spiders than the humans, but I wasn't. It wasn't like I completely disconnected from the humans. It's just I liked the spiders a bit more.
How did he get you emotionally invested with them? Because even the writing for it felt clinical, where it's just very this is what the spiders are doing. There's Portia, and they're not even the same character over time. It's more of the spiders as a whole society. It's not going even Portia specifically. There's a lot of Portias.
It's a combination of intrigue and novelty
of
how I'm just so curious on how they are going to solve very historically human problems. Like it's kind of positing that every civilization, that no matter what kind of people, civilization's going to have to go through certain challenges that are almost universal. But a completely different species could accomplish and overcome these goals in completely different ways.
Even without thumbs.
That's
the biggest stretch in sci-fi is they were able to do this without thumbs. That's not realistic. That's why it's sci-fi. Everything else possible.
That's this.
Yeah.
This is,
if you don't have thumbs, you're screwed.
Yeah, you're gone.
This is why we're the dominant species, I feel. If you had to attribute humans to what? Would it be that and our endurance? I don't know. Maybe?
Yeah, generally.
Generally speaking.
We have very, very high endurance for many animals. So
yeah.
Stamina is great for humans.
We're on top, baby.
And thumbs.
Let's go.
You should, but crows also. Like, if I were a betting man, what other species do you think could evolve into super beings if humanity was wiped out? I would say crows.
What sea creature would you say?
What sea creature?
Yeah.
I mean, you would think dolphins, but I think dolphins are just kind of chilling. Like, I don't think they're going to dominate anything. They're smart, but I don't know.
That's where my head went. Dolphins. But you're right. Crows are, like, very smart.
Yeah.
Very, very smart.
It freaks me out, actually, a little bit. We'll talk about that later off camera of just cool videos of crows doing some...
Creepy, you mean?
No, just really smart things of going, uh-oh.
Oh, they're using currency. Oh, no.
They use currency, they use tools, they use human inventions to yeah. Anyway.
Want to go on to thought-provokingness?
Yep.
Okay, thought-provokingness where we go over messages and themes. What'd you give out of 5 stars?
This is an obvious one. I give it 5.
I also gave it a 5 stars.
I was floored with this message.
Floored.
It was amazing.
Floored me, and why did it floor you?
So, overall, the theme of this whole story is about survival.
Agreed.
Both humans, spiders, survival. What are you willing to do to survive? How are you going to go about it? What are your priorities? What's right and wrong, and when survival's on the line? That's a lot of the stuff. Then further messages is, I think the next biggest one is how important communication is. And how exactly do we communicate? Shout
out to Emily on that. Emily made a great point when we were in the book club. Yeah.
Go ahead. Do you have her message off point?
Oh, I do on communication specifically. Yes, she was talking about how communication was so important for the humans and spiders. On the human side, Holston kept waking up, not knowing what was going on, and it was constantly a lack of miscommunication going on. And the entire thing between male and female spiders, complete communication barrier there where the females didn't even talk to the males. Another one being just how spiders actually communicated to evolve. So just the constant themes of how important it was to communicate.
Yeah. And then
some of the stuff.
The communication between spiders and their god.
Yes. And then most importantly, the one that really pulled everything together, the prisoner's dilemma, and how that had a part to do with communication. But before I cut you off, what would you have on why it floored you?
The last one, or really, I think the last most important one. I think there's a bunch of other little ones.
Yeah.
But the thing that really got me was the idea of destiny for this book. And both, that sets up an interesting question of human beings they've gone back to the Dark Age and they are now rediscovering the stars, all these inventions. And Holston starts talking about the nature of their development and how all of their discoveries are not discoveries. They're rediscoveries. Everything they've done, everything they've accomplished has already been done before, and they're just finding out that they're just rediscovering things, which means it's not their own. And there's a sense that they're following down a already worn path, and that their destiny is kind of locked, where they saw how humans destroyed themselves. And it seems like they're going down the exact same path since that path has already been laid for them.
Yep.
And there's a depressing nature in that of what it feels like humans are destined to wipe themselves out again and again. Spiders have a unique, hopeful side where how it starts off, you think it's going to be all by design. The monkeys are going to evolve and they're basically going to follow the same footprint as humans. But spiders get to avoid all that. They're going off script. Their destiny is unknown because they're going outside of the plans of God. And there's some hope in that. They don't fall into the same traps as humans or falling into different traps that humans have. And so you get to see a fresh take on when your destiny is unknown. How do you accomplish it? And I think that's important for people not to know what their future is.
And that's how the spiders solved the prisoner's dilemma, where at the end where the humans went, okay, if we're in a spot where we don't know when we land, the spiders are either going to attack us or not. But if we go in and try to be peaceful, they attack us, we die.
Yeah.
So it's either we attack and could survive, or we go down. It forces you into a spot where you have to attack because it's the rational thing to do in the prisoner's dilemma. Mm-hmm. The spiders broke the rules of the prisoner's dilemma. They don't view it that way because as they grew up in their society, they tamed the ant cultures, and every time they would expand, instead of destroying.
To give context, as they've evolved, one of the very early enemies of spider kind was a hyper-evolved ants.
Yes,
and spiders are nearly wiped out on the brink of extinction by ants. And what they finally figure out a way to stop them, and they're wiping out most of the ants, but they don't kill all the ants. At some point, they go, hey, let's try and integrate them. Let's figure out how to make this useful. Let's communicate. Let's figure out how to use ants to our advantage.
Yeah.
And it's not wipe them out. As that goes on, there's several more interesting developments as the spiders are always trying to find a way to communicate and basically adopt and enfold new creatures, new ideas.
Yes.
Instead of actually just wiping them out. They're still ruthless.
They incorporate. They don't destroy.
As much. Their main benefit is they build.
That's the way they survive too. So it's in their interest to do because that's how they've survived. It's ingrained in their society. And that this is the big thing that the book left with me is the fact that these are spiders. It's intentionally spiders. So we found out, again, I think it was through Emily told us this, that or Dump Truck as well, where Adrian Tchaikovsky is really into insects. Mm-hmm. It's his big passion. And one big thing he was going for here in survival is he used spiders specifically because they are the most disgusting creatures humans think of. When everyone thinks spiders, we think creepy, crawly, ew, I don't like spiders. And the fact that the humans, through this nanovirus, we created our own vile creation, our own demise, our own twisted creation ends up saving us. And it's not just monkeys that turned into humans that could have been more sympathetic, but no, spiders. It's specifically spiders to show that if you can view a spider as having value with the sentience, you can view anyone as having value. Where he has a quote here. He says, this is from Tchaikovsky, he says, "Life is not perfect. Individuals will always be flawed, but empathy, the sheer inability to see those around them as anything other than people too, conquers all in the end." Going through that, and that is a consistent theme between even the gender politics between male and female spiders as well. Mm-hmm. And it just extends completely through to go, wow, you can't use any other species but spiders here in this story for that purpose alone. Just to show, it emphasizes to you of, hey, spiders are the go-to. Hey, Shelob in Lord of the Rings, they're the go-to creepy monster that humans go, ew, spider. And the fact that he makes you sympathize in the end and look, hey, they just saved you.
If you can have empathy for spiders, you can have empathy for your common
Richard.
Man.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that too.
I don't know. Would I call myself the common man?
You are an uncommon man.
There we go.
Another one that made me really think too, because you were talking about the pattern of how species go through similar patterns to evolve, and how human society, the spider society, mimics humans in a lot of ways through their evolution. If you would call this evolution, so a sped up type of evolution.
Sure.
But the way religion was handled, and how from the get-go, and that we see the first scene with the one spider Portia looking to another Portia and going, okay, we now need to team up. A
lot of female spiders are called Portia.
They're all
the
Portia,
name
yes.
is reused a lot.
Yes, it's Portia, another Portia.
And then male spiders are Fabian.
And then we have Bianca.
Yes. There are different spider names, but they are reused.
You're doing great at giving context for people that didn't read it. This is great.
Yeah.
I already forgot from 20 minutes ago. Thank you.
I'm helping you out.
Thank you.
See, I'm doing my part.
Yes. So so as they evolved, and the first inkling of some type of higher power is Portia kind of looks up to the sky and sees Kern's spaceship satellite-esque. Sees where Kern is stationed outside of the planet, because she ejected herself before the collapse of humankind. She is now circling the terraformed planet, waiting to wake up for the spiders, for her monkeys. She thinks the monkeys are down there, waiting for the monkeys to evolve enough to communicate with her. But from the get-go, the spiders look up at this satellite and over time see it as a god, as their messenger. And
more importantly, it's not just they see it. Pretty early on in the spider's development, they are able to actually receive the signal that Kearns is now transmitting from her little satellite.
The ants originally have the device.
Basically, they use a crystal to be able to receive the vibrations from it, and the spiders figure out, oh, this is math. Like, literally math is coming down from the sky.
Yes.
And we can tell, because when that satellite is coming up above our heads, that's when we can hear it.
Mm-hmm.
We can't hear it all the time. And so because for some reason in this case, like, spiders are very much math oriented. They use a lot of patterns. I think a lot of this is due to like webbing, the idea of webbing and pattern recognition. That is what spiders value. So they see math from the sky of like God.
And even seeing that flick of light at first, that you can think of to our ancestors. You look to the stars and you start to come up with gods and mythos and Zeus, and you come up with all these things. It just shows such a positive. It shows a positive portion of religion where, without believing in a higher power, without seeing something greater than yourself in the first place as a species, it's hard to evolve and get there. Even today, we can have all these postmodern, nihilistic, all these theories, but you don't
all
get
those silly people.
But you don't get nihilism without God. God cannot die unless God exists in the first place in that way, to where the species gets to the point where they do believe in something, and then eventually, at least in modern society, grow enough to start answering some questions and disbelief happens. But in the first place, God gets you to the point as a species to further along in your evolution, to grow as a society, which is just a neat way. Go ahead, yeah.
It's hard to develop if you believe that you are the top of the food chain. If you believe that you are of the hierarchy of beings, if you believe you're the only one on top, what reason is there to change? There's nothing to strive for. There's nothing to build towards. And so that's the important nature of God. Whatever God deity you have is by default above you. Whatever you put in your hierarchy above yourself is God. And if you have nothing, then you are the top of your hierarchy and you worship yourself. And that just generally not good. Not good on an individual level, not good on a societal level.
This is coming from agnostics too. So
I know. Yeah.
Like as we're talking about this, and as the spider society is looking up to greater things, they are able to then, in this awesome way, because of how spiders work here, in the end with Kern is seen as the human, the god, the deity, and she sees herself as this narcissist. She sees herself at the top of the hierarchy. She sees herself as God. And she goes from seeing the spiders as children to her children being her literal hosts. And now she only exists because of them. And so she goes from their deity and this person then the spiders are now, well, no, you're not. They kind of ingrain their god into that.
They accept their god like, yeah, hey, God, you can stay in our summer home. We got you. You've done a lot for us. Well, don't worry. Come on down, visit. You're good.
Yeah. It
you
really made me
can
think
advise us sometimes, but we're not listening to you. You know,
every Sunday.
Every Sunday we'll sit down. We'll talk.
Say a prayer or two. It has a lot of similarities with humans. Sometimes just on Sundays people pray, and then after that they forget.
Right. Humans only listen to God on Sundays.
Yep.
A lot of people only listen to God on Sundays.
That is a lot. Sunday mornings just for some people too.
Yeah.
You know.
Sad.
Yeah.
Who are we to criticize?
No, we're not at all.
We're not even
No, we have to criticize all points here. So we're giving the God point, then we're giving the opposite. But we gotta jiggle it around. Gotta teeter the totter.
There we go. I was waiting for it.
Also, anything else you want to add on the thought-provokingness? Because there's probably even more to go into. I mean,
I guess we could talk briefly about. So we're talking a lot about the human, a lot about the spiders.
Yes.
Side of it. What type of message did you get out of the humans? Because I think you got a key one.
A huge one.
Now here's the thing. I know AI is mentioned a couple times in this story and is gone into a little bit. It was actually, to me, the least interesting part to think about is the nature of AI in this story. How about you?
The most for me, AI was
like it existed.
I was interested by it though. I was interested just because of maybe not because of the thought provokingness of it, but just more of the plot device it created. So not on the message side, but I thought this plot device with Kern having that split, I thought that was super cool. But for message, I'll agree with you.
It just kind of is. It doesn't really say much to me. It was more of a plot device. I
think for the message on the human side kind of goes along with that survival theme. And under that umbrella, Holston is our main character because of the fact he's a classicist. Mm-hmm. I think the thing I pull from that is how important history is in survival as well. How important that history is looked at to the spiders look at history a certain way. Again, there's a bunch of parallels with the spiders and humans, but then Holston is such a key element to all of this, and just seeing how the passage of time from one wake to the next and how the humans progress in this kind of, we get this, well, not frame narrative, what's it called, where just time jumps all around.
Yeah, I guess not a frame narrative, but
no.
Frequent time
skips.
Skips, yeah.
But that I got a lot of that out of the human side, where as we were rediscovering, as you said, we were rediscovering stuff from the old empire following that same path, how history repeats itself, but also how Holston was just an important aspect of this book because evolution, survival, both looking at a higher being and also looking to your past. It's kind of a twofold thing of the way survival works is both looking forward and looking back, and both are equally important. So yeah, I just love this. This is the bread and butter of the book for me. This is what it just makes me think of a lot.
To me, it also touches a little bit on, and this is a classic sci-fi thing that I love. Us humans, gassing ourselves up. The idea of the indomitable human spirit.
Fuck yeah.
Just a tight-knit group of people, human pilgrims, the last of humanity that they know of.
Yeah.
And they are just kind of stuck. They have no planet to go to. They are running out of fuel. They are stuck on this tin can that they barely know how to work, trying to find a new home. And they go through all of these different challenges of, mutiny. The planet that they try and colonize is just one big mushroom. It's one big fungus. It's like, God damn it, we can't live there. What the hell do we do?
Yep.
And they're constantly fighting against nature itself and just living in this hellish...
And human nature.
Yeah, and so they're fighting themselves, fighting nature, and they finally are trying to conquer the last remaining habitable planet that they can find.
Yes.
Like, we got it. We can't stay in a ship for another 1,000 years. Please, for the love of God. Please, we need grass.
You need to touch grass, literally.
They needed to touch grass.
The commenters who say we need to touch grass, that's the message of this story.
They needed it bad.
Touch grass.
So that was always fun to see, is
Yes.
the indomitable human spirit.
Exactly.
So,
Love that.
do you want to move on to characters?
Yes, I kind of want to. I have a couple of. I'll just even skip by it. We brushed on all of it. It's fine. So yeah, we covered most of it.
Mm-hmm.
I think if anybody else got something out of it as well, feel free to comment, because I'm curious to see what other takes are from it. But fantastic thought provoking. So characters, what'd you give it out of 5 stars?
Characters, I gave it a 3.5. I think they're good.
Good.
Yeah. I have a couple key examples on it.
I give a 3.25. I think above average characters. I would have given it just 3 flat neutral, but Kern was a great antagonist. She was.
Yeah, that's. There's a couple key characters where I would say without something like. It's weird. So Kern, I think, was a good antagonist, but what I probably connected most emotionally with Fabian, the revolutionary Fabian.
Yeah.
This is the male spider that revolts against spider society to get male spider rights.
I don't know why Spider Society sounds so fun.
That's all
It's just Spidey Society.
And you really sympathize with this character trying to fight for, conflicting against the spider that he loves, this other,
There's Bianca and Portia. Those
and
are 2.
you get a lot more of how he's this really smart spider, how he's withholding his knowledge to try and further male spider rights, and how much he has to fight against it, and then ultimately doesn't even get to see the results of his victory. I felt emotionally for Fabian. Equally so, I loved the multiple stories of Portia as it goes along, almost considering them like one character.
That was fun.
Just analogs. I connected with these characters and how he was able to do it. They are technically multiple spiders, but if you consider them like one character, one ever-evolving spider kind,
yep.
I thought it was impressive how the characters changed.
I think why this is the lowest for both of us, and why I have a little bit of a lower score, is our 5 stars going for an irreplaceable character. Just they're so unique, they live off the page, versus our 1 star's incoherent. I think this really hits the middle ground. If they're just replaceable characters where you could replace a spider for another spider, or you could replace one of the humans with another, typically speaking, I gave a little bit of edge. I'll give reasons for that, but I think for the most part, would you agree? A lot of these characters, they're not fully realized characters. They serve their role really well. They serve what they need to do, and for that gets the pass.
Yeah, I give it just a slight edge, considering something like A Fire Upon the Deep, where I would say A Fire Upon the Deep is very much your 3. Like, they serve a purpose, but nothing further. I connected with some of these characters a bit more.
Kendall connected with the kids from A Fire Upon the Deep pretty well. So
yeah, I didn't.
Oh, you didn't?
I did not care.
You villain. Well.
Yeah. So I connected with some of these characters a bit more.
Okay.
And Holston as well. I was laughing at him at some points and, sad with him. So I thought I connected with him more.
What about Holston? So why Holston? Why was he in the book with that classicist portion to get his perspective? Do you think what about him made him good, neutral, bad character?
I liked seeing his development of a standard classicist, of revering history and to some degree not worshiping but revering old human society, and then over the course of the book it develops a real sense of tragedy for old human society, and regrets that human beings seem trapped on the course of their ancestors, and going like, why are we following the same footsteps of the people that wipe themselves out? I loved that perspective of him, and seeing him start being very disconnected from other human beings to being far more connected and develop this love with another woman, a part of the crew, Lane. So I liked all that. Liked the character, really enjoyable. So I'll give it that edge.
Yeah. I'd say for him and others like Lane, all passed as far as not bad characters, but not good to great characters for me. I think the Holston Lane thing was cute by the end, and I think Lane had a nice personality. I think the what would you call it when you curse, that type of idiosyncrasy of just, she was had a hard edge to her.
Yeah.
That just when she had a dialogue tag, I go, okay, that's Lane. So she kind of came across that way. And then I think for the most part, the humans, like, was it Gurney? Let me double check. Goyen. What'd you think about Goyen, and what'd you think about Kern, the two antagonists of this story?
I like Kern more than Goyen. Goyen, for the most part, is interesting and sympathetic. I liked the twist part of Goyen. Like, you get the perspective of Goyen's trying to make himself into an AI, and he's God, and he's being worshipped by all these other humans. It's like, uh-oh.
Not even his full intent either, though.
And you just get to actually, Holston just talks to him, and he just seems kind of done. He's like, I know they're worshiping me. Like, I don't know what to do about that. I'm sorry.
That seems like a you
thing.
They're
doing that to me.
If this podcast gets even bigger, Rich's ego, like, I don't know. They just listen to me now.
I know.
I'm on the streets. They're like, Rich, what do we read? You just have this power.
Yeah.
With Guyen, that actually, now I think about that scene, is funnier now. I like that.
But no, very singular mission of going, look, the only shot we have is going back to the spider planet that's, being guarded by this powerful AI thing.
Yeah.
We got to figure out this whatever weapon technology we could do to take that thing out and go back to this planet, because we got no other options. And so he's stuck on that path. He's not willing to find any other solution, which doesn't seem like there is one. And so he's willing to do anything to get that done, even sacrificing his humanity, other people's lives. He is just hard set on this mission. And you know what? You get his point of view of he doesn't trust anyone else to continue on the mission once he's gone. So that's why he's pushing to become an AI, because he looks around. He doesn't think anyone else would actually continue on the path, that they would give up.
People will say, I think, when writing characters at times, they want to feel like they understand. I guess I'm just talking from some of the people that dislike the characters a lot, or just didn't connect with the characters. I'll agree, I didn't connect particularly with any character, but to make a fully realized character in another book, sometimes backstory or who they are, how they led up to the motivations they currently have, or why do they do this, you don't get the answer for someone such as Kern or
literally any character other than the spiders.
A bit of that, but with all the humans, it's more they represent a part of humanity. So Goyen is doing the ends justify the means. He's representing that concept. Holston is representing what philosophy would he represent?
I don't know, just kind of wisdom of the past, I guess, is...
Not even stoic. No, I think that would be a little inaccurate. But they're all representing a certain kind of... They have their character, their motivations. They're like, this is how they are. It's just how they are, and they exist for the story. Beyond that, it's not too deep. It's nothing crazy.
Mm-hmm.
I think the fun I had was Kern and her madness between being AI and her not knowing that her knowing the monkeys were destroyed, but throughout time, the AI and her meshing in a way that lost her memory, and she wasn't able to. She thought that the monkeys were on the planet, and so now as she's talking with them, she doesn't know that she's talking with the spiders. And the big character moment for me that put this to a 3.25 instead of just a 3 was when she recognized it was spiders talking to her, and she had this moment of devastation, like, what? My whole
reason for being
is not here. And then she has the quick switch of going, wait a second. Who cares what they are? I am still their God. They're still my children. And just...
Well, she goes really robot.
Yeah.
And just goes, I have two options. I either freak out and deny their existence and just, lose everything and my whole purpose for being, or I accept what is and take responsibility for the new creatures that I have created. And she goes, only one of those is logical. Yep. Might as well just accept reality and do my best to help them out.
Yep.
There we go. So then done.
That's why this gets an A+ for consistency with characters. Does not break anything. The character's super consistent, just not the most deep or anything. So
yeah.
Do you want? I mean, we talked. I think we covered it for most part.
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
You want to go on to plot?
Yes. What did you give the plot?
4.75 stars. Absolutely spectacular.
This is one where I could probably be convinced to go a little bit further.
Okay.
I give it a 4 stars. I thought it was great.
You're hurting me. That's too low. That's too low.
I know that 0.75 is the ending.
So I found the ending matters a lot to me.
The ending matters a lot.
The ending matters a lot, and I will agree with you. I think that tell me if I'm wrong. The 4 stars, is that just because, hey, it was great, but the whole book in its entirety wasn't a intricately, insanely masterful plot in the middle part, or what would you say?
There's some things about this. Back in the beginning of this video, you talked to how C.S. Lewis would describe this as the engineer story. I would actually disagree with that.
Oh, what would you call it?
Because engineer story is typically taking an idea and saying, like, how exactly would this work? How would, like, to the minutia detail of how would this technology, how would we actually travel the stars? And goes into the detail of the machine and all that, the physics of it. A lot of this book, and this is part of the plot of how exactly does the spider technology work. I don't think goes really detailed enough for me to understand. It just kind of is like the ants.
Yeah.
Ants calculation stuff. Just computer circuits are now ants. And we kind of don't really go into much detail about it. Like, oh, they use pheromones. And just like, okay, we accept it. And then we start talking about the idea of the knowings, where the virus that affects the spiders allows for genetic memory. Mix that with spiders, because spiders actually do have some degree of genetic memory. It's really cool. So that combination of where they're able to excrete this juice and just basically eat genetic memory instead of having to pass it on through their genes. A bunch of these little things, and then we go into the nature of how the AI merges. It skims the surface level of how this stuff functions.
You would want it to be more intricate for your plot to go up.
A lot of plot things happen to me where I'm going, like, we're just kind of accept that this is kind of how a thing works, and we don't go into how or why. And I was actually taken out a few times of going, like, wait a minute, how does this thing work? This was not explained. Why would it do that? And then we move on. I'm like, oh, okay. I just kind of have to accept some of this tech.
Like the jump in
logic of how stuff works to me happens several times, and it was used to keep the plot going forward, prevents me from giving it too high.
To break this down, we have there's 2 different plots going on here. That for what would you consider our A and B plot? The spiders and humans have their 2 different plots going on, and I guess Kern we could put in with the spiders plot.
I would say even Kern is your brief asides. It's like
maybe she's your B plot.
Nah, she's like your C.
C. Okay.
You know what I mean? Like you occasionally get her perspective. It's the outside. She's used as a perspective in the very beginning to give you the setup to how this all breaks down. You get a little bit of her perspective throughout it just to see.
She ties together the 2 other plots a lot of the time.
Yeah, exactly. You get the bird's eye view of how when the spiders are, where they're at the development, and also where the humans are at, and ties them together. Yes. So Kern's asides, and then there's spiders and humans.
Yeah.
It's about it.
And with going, I guess spiders you talked about first. So talking about spiders, that set up the promise that we got. First scene was one spider Portia going to another Portia spider, starting to hunt together and learning how to adapt. I think for the reason that didn't bother me, the minutia detail as it got through, is a lot of the explanations were cultural and nature/cultural was the things that I could attach to, and it made sense as society developed, because there's a lot of similarities with human society, and you could see how it goes from one step to the next in that sequential order. Technology wise, just had to accept some leaps. Yes. So with this, I guess looking at the spiders plot of, you mentioned earlier how that you kept you intrigued in the middle as well. So then what was it about the plot that just looking at that plot, spiders plot, what about it was great?
Culturally. Yeah, exactly.
Stuff,
I loved all the cultural changes.
Yeah.
It's mostly the technology for the sake of plot. I had to just kind of accept and took me out of like, oh, okay, this is just kind of is, and I just kind of have to accept it, move on. Is that fair to put in the plot, or should I put that kind of thought into world building? To me,
Maybe
it felt more like
stuff.
Plot devices.
Fair
and
enough.
so that's why I was going, I would like a bit more of a justification for these.
That sounds like suspension of disbelief stuff for you. That would probably go in world, because
fair enough.
losing some immersion there would be world stuff, I think.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Then I would change my plot score. If I'm going to put that there, my plot score would go up to a 4.5.
Nice. Yeah. Because
so if I take all that out,
I think world that makes perfect sense, because for the spiders in this middle portion, we get Portia, as they're developing, goes and steals that metal crystal thing from the ants. What would you consider it or call it? The way that Kern was messaging the ants and sending signals down. Portia, we see here, steal that initially, and then it creates this tension and fight between the ants and the spiders. So we kind of see in that natural progression of a species. First, you start to grow, then you have natural competitor. For Homo sapiens, maybe it was your Neanderthals, and it just as you expand as a species, and then the ants go and attack 7 trees with flamethrowers.
They got flamethrowers and metal. For some reason, just ants are really into industrial metalworking.
And then the real twist for me when these two plots converged, so the spiders, as we were going through, evolving, the humans came at one point, because they get by Kern, and a human ship gets down with, Holston was down there, right? And he was basically captive from
he was kidnapped from the mutineers, which setting this stuff up, humans try and they fly by our new spider planet, try to get down there, and they're like, the AI Kern just like, leave or I'm gonna kill you all, and basically takes over their ship. And they're like, all right, we're gone. So they go off, and they're trying to seed this other planet with other humans and have them develop the planet, and then come back after thousands of years when they're put on ice, and then they're hoping to come back to a planet that's more developed.
Yes.
Those people wake up through some means and are not very happy with being basically the sacrificial pawns, of just being abandoned and expected to develop a planet for these other people. They want to go to the already terraformed planet. They don't want to be the sacrificial
rational
pawns.
Humans and be irrational.
So they throw a mutiny. And they try and take Holston. They wake him up, and he's like, what's going on? Again. Oh, God, there's a mutiny going on? What the hell? And they kidnap him, other people, and they take a escape pod, and they escape to the spider planet. Just trying to give context.
Again, you got this. Yes.
So they escape to the spider planet. They slip past the AI. AI is not very happy. And spiders kill some of them.
In fact, the AI then allows Goyen was sending another ship after them to get Holston and Lane back, and just to get them back and collect them. The AI let the other ship come through, so that Kern essentially said, hey, get them and go out, or else I'll just kill all of you, because doesn't want them messing with her experiment.
Also, logically speaking for the plot, once the other humans got past, I don't think Kern actually has really a way to kill the humans down there. Once they're landed, it doesn't have the ability. So actually does need the other humans to go get them.
Yes, fair enough. Yeah, and when that all happens, you the plot twist in my mind was going, oh, I see where this is going. The humans get down there, becomes a survival thing, kind of horror with the humans. The humans having a legion down there, or a squad of the mutineers. I 100% thought that's where it was going, with Holston the mutineers having to survive on the Spider Society, and figure out how to get through and how to compete, and then waiting for the other humans to come and save them. I thought third act would be them there, humans come and save them.
Yeah.
Humans versus spiders, typical. That's why it threw me such for a loop, is the reason that part is there in the midpoint is one of the humans runs off, one of the mutineers runs off, ends up dying, but the spiders are able to look at that human, dissect, figure out how human biology works.
They
and
keep
get
the humans around for years until the natural death of the human, basically.
Observe and kind of figure out how to eventually create what they did when humans came back one day. And were able to create some type of pathogen, if that's what you call it, to alter human chemistry and alter human neurology here.
Well, we'll talk about that. Yeah. They basically take the nanovirus that Kearns used on them, and they just altered it to make sure it works with human DNA.
So that then the humans could, they altered it so the humans would see spiders as people, and how that all came together and why it was so satisfying. It's just
talking and to lay the groundwork for this.
Yeah.
The very beginning of Spider Civilization, it was mentioned by Kearns in this whole thing that the evolutionary nanovirus is kind of specific. It doesn't just pick traits that'll make them more like humans. It's kind of like regular evolution, like what leads to
species survival. Yeah.
Best spider moves on.
Yeah.
But one of the very early things that the virus does is it makes sure that the creature recognizes other creatures of itself as not like as a potential ally, and that they are the one and the same, where instead of all spiders seeing other spiders as either, enemy or food, basically, like everything is either
allies and also an option. There's a third option there.
There's a third option. Now they're potential for allies, and that's what the virus specifically did in the very beginning of, hey, spiders now see other spiders as potential allies.
Yes.
That's the key factor and how it kickstarts spider civilization, and that they are genetically programmed to see other spiders as potential allies.
Yes.
They weaponize that at the very end. That's the very key thing that they use. Anyway.
And that whole nanovirus, there's questions about it of how it exactly works. I remember it mentioned that the nanovirus was intended for the monkeys, but didn't have something. It was not designed so that it could prevent. It was designed to not go into mice or other rodents or other vertebrates. It was specifically designed so that the reason it went into insects is it was designed in a way so invertebrates could still have the nanovirus be effective, to where other invertebrates besides monkeys, who it was designed for. So that's why there wasn't super mice. That's why there wasn't super whatever other rodents or mammals.
Basically, the humans created it for monkeys, but they also wanted to make sure that it didn't affect other vertebrates like mice or cats
be a big competition
or whatever. Exactly.
Whereas insects are just insects,
Exactly. They kind of assumed that, like, hey, look, the super evolved monkeys will be able to take out. They'll be fine. A vertebrate versus an invertebrate, it shouldn't even be a factor.
Yeah.
Humans didn't even think that, super evolved spiders would actually be a thing or even a threat if it came around.
Yeah.
They were discounted.
Yep.
And so that's how they were able to be affected.
And why it comes all to that point of setting up since the beginning of how the nanovirus works, and then seeing the spiders and their society specifically geared toward incorporating, assimilating, making sure the ants work with them, and even the sea creatures that are mentioned off page, that the crustaceans or whatever they were, also has a sea society.
They're doing their own thing.
I want a whole book on that sea society. I want to know what's going on in sea society and spider society, and then they're doing their own thing. They have trade relations. Cool.
Yeah. Well, it also makes sense of the sea crustaceans they can't come on land, and the spiders, of course, can't go in the water. There's no reason for them to fight. They just kind of communicate every once in a while. There's not much of a...
Like, hey, the alien humans are coming.
Crustaceans like...
BRB.
I don't care. We're in the water.
Crustaceans like, can they swim? Okay, good luck.
Good luck.
That's it.
You'll figure it out.
So that where it all comes together, that ending floored me, where I'm just...
Basically, we have to get the ending away to talk about it. We have the clash between humans finally coming back to take back their birthright of a planet, to conquer these spiders, kill them all off, wipe them out, and claim this lush, grassy planet for themselves.
They touch grass.
They want to touch grass. And spiders going, uh-oh. God, Kearns, tells them, look, the humans are coming, and they're going to wipe you out.
Oh, that was the end of one of the chapters, was the humans are coming. That was such a cool line to end with of, no, not the British are coming, but the humans are coming.
Be warned. Be scared. Be scared and afraid. The humans are coming.
We were the villains from their perspective. It was cool to read. Coop was telling us how he was so behind the spiders, rooting for the spiders. And it was so cool to have a alien invasion book where
humans are the alien
invasion. Are alien.
Yeah.
That's cool.
And so then we have Kearns going like, we got to wipe these humans out before they touch ground. We got to touch grass.
Yes.
Then spiders are going, that's not how we roll. Like, when we were nearly wiped out by ants, we just figured out a way to communicate and work with them and integrate them into our society.
Yeah.
Let's do the same for humans. Like,
at this point, they were advancing in flight. At this point, they'd already been going from just ground webs to being able to fly. And at this point, the humans come and they look at the planet and they just see it a web of cocoon around the entire terraformed planet. How creepy is that? The humans see that and are going, oh shit. Oh my God. And so the humans, as they're coming toward the spider infested planet, I can't think of anything freakier. And then actually I can, you in furry outfits. But as they're coming down and then the spiders meet them up there, it's okay. Is one of those plot twists again where you see the spiders taking out the humans and making them unconscious, and so they developed it. They sent this pathogen, whatever the word would be for this, knocking them unconscious, and so they're all getting knocked unconscious. And we see Vitas get attacked by the spiders. Oh, horror, horror, horror! And I'm going, wow, this is going to be just a horror ending.
It's real scary.
Yeah, and then
almost as scary as you're going to look when you dress up as Syl for Dragon's Teeth.
Now you have that on me.
There you go.
And so the very, very end, the twist that it pulls of, wow, they weren't attacking the whole time. We're reading this from the human's perspective, scared out of our minds. And then in the very end, spiders were saving us.
And by the end, spiders figure out a way to alter the nanovirus that's been infecting them, and they figured out what was causing their evolution. And they're going, hey, let's just make it work on humans too, and not alter it so it's just the key part. The very first thing the nanovirus ever did was make us see each other as potential allies. And then they basically inject the humans with the same nanovirus, and the humans walk out, and instead of being horrified by the spiders, see them as potential friends. And don't see them as monsters. See them as people too.
Life is not perfect. Individuals will always be flawed, but empathy, the sheer inability to see those around them as anything other than people too, conquers all in the end.
It was great.
Touch grass at last, touch grass at last, touch grass at last. I was trying to get like the free at last kind of. Free at last, free at last.
Trying to do a
MLK
touch grass thing. Okay. Yeah.
Like touch grass, they
yeah, I get you.
Everybody kumbaya on that. And it was all happy ending.
Yeah, sure.
So
wait, what are the spiders in this? Are you calling black people spiders?
What?
Is that what the message of this?
You know what? I think you're angry.
This is on your fault.
I think you're angry about the furry thing. You're trying to get at me.
A little bit, yeah.
Okay, you want to go into world building?
Yeah, let's go into it.
Now, this is where I'm going to be convinced here. I think you will convince me to lower it. I might be a little high on my world building. What'd you give it out of 5 stars?
I'm changing up my score. I did have it at a 4.
Oh.
I'm now putting it down to a 3.5.
Really?
Good world. Now,
you know what?
Do you get what I mean?
Am I too high? Yeah, am I too high on it?
Because isolating the great things about what this story does, I think the world itself, there's some cool. The reason why it's still good, and I think it could have been even better. The best parts of the world is the first chapter, the history of how humans have gotten to where they are and going toward near extinction, the idea of this nuclear war on Earth, and that the new ice age basically saves the vestige of humanity, because without it, the nuclear waste would basically toxify the planet and they wouldn't be able to survive. That allowed the humans to live long enough to escape. All that stuff, really awesome, really great. But when it came to a lot of the technology that happened and is rediscovered, a lot of it has to be run on assumptions, which for a hard sci-fi book it required a lot of assumptions and didn't go into as many details as I would particularly like, and took me out of the story. So how spiders were able to use their nanovirus of knowings, like at a certain point made sense of, hey, it's genetic memory, supercharged with the evolution virus, cool. And then they figure out a way to just like turn the knowledge into food, and they just kind of like consume it. And okay. Just doesn't really go into details or how. And then they go into the ants built this, like they've been foraging and they have these manacles and now they have this crystal that can receive the signal. And it's like, okay, we just had to make a lot of assumptions on how this technology works, and then how does the human technology for spaceflight work. I don't know. To me, it is very, very surface level. And it doesn't go into like those details that I would particularly want, and doesn't feel as integrated. So that took me out.
So your lack of immersion came when you wanted more explanation.
Yeah.
More detail, more substance to go, okay, I don't have to take a leap. I can understand how the understanding works.
Yes. There's just some stuff that felt a little bit more fantastical. So how the spiders did things was more fantastic.
More fantasy than sci-fi.
Yeah, a little
sci-fi.
bit. So, especially in this type of hard sci-fi book, it took me out.
You know what? You convinced me to go a little lower, but I can't go that low. I think I'm going to go down to a 4.5.
Okay.
I think I'll stick to that. I definitely was a little bit high strung because of thought-provokingness, but still, I think it's a spectacular world for that. I guess I'd never focused on the technology or didn't think it was going for the tech buildup or how the tech worked. The big thing apart this, so let's start where we agree.
Well,
I think
I'll also add to this. Yeah. The AI stuff on how that functioned is just, it's AI, and I just run with it. It didn't go into any bigger it's most of the stuff is very surface level, and so But I think Tchaikovsky's background is insects and how insects work, and that's his intrigue. I think the whole world building for this is how the evolution process works in culture and in gender, so that male versus female. And one cool feature of the world that just kind of maybe is emblematic of the rest of it, where the female spiders have this innate primal desire to eat the male spiders after they have a coitus, you know. God, that's gonna get clipped the way you said that.
Nick, don't you dare! After a little coitus, so after intercourse, the female spider will eat the male spider, and then as society progressed past that point, there was still that primal instinct, that taboo, that deep down desire, like, you know, it's no, you don't do that to male spiders. That's our innate That's going. Go ahead.
The urge for future spider society, like the modern spider society, they still feel that urge to eat the males after sex, but
they hold back.
That desire is a little. It's just the spice of romance. That's all it is. It's that feeling.
Romantic sea lovers everywhere are going to read this book now. So I think and especially the scenes with Fabian of as showing the male-female dynamic in society, and how, from Portia's perspective, didn't even look at them, and just how it would work as a spider culture, just with how spiders are innately. And so I think all the things I loved about it was their relationship to the god Kern, their relationship to as they evolved through. I know that the ant technology having flamethrowers is more the cool thing. It's more so how they integrate the ants of how did the spider mind work? How does this nanovirus concept work? So I guess conceptually and just looking at the whole picture, when I'm looking at the galactic space in my mind, I see this world as, wow, what a cool concept where we had an old empire, Earth, that was terraforming and sending a nanovirus down. And now we have humans who are searching into our old vestiges of what remained. From the get-go gets me going, what a cool galaxy. Because the next book, I assume they're going to another terraform planet. That's where it kind of ends. I think the world expansion that you can go from here is just the possibility. What my mind's running high on that. Even that fungi planet, there's no substance to it. Just knowing that there's other terraform planets out there of what else exists has me wanting to go back to this world. I guess when I was reading it, he did a great job at the evolution stuff. That was what was really great.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
And you know what? Just because of that, you have a lot of little back and forth. I'm going to change my score again.
So what?
3.75.
Oh, not the 4. But I started at a 5. You lowered mine to a 4.5, I think, because I think it's fair to say that it's not Fire Upon the Deep's a 5-star world.
Yes.
I'm thinking in my head, is it there? It's close, but not there. Not that. I think I'll say that. Yeah.
I'd agree with you there.
Okay, I'll stick with that.
A 3.75 for me, especially the Spider Society evolution, putting that into the world. Yeah, I love the depth of that. It was my favorite part.
Yeah, and I guess the trade relations with the sea creatures bumps it up another point for me, of course. It's just a one sentence off, of course. Oh, also cool, the rituals around molting.
Yeah, sure.
That's cool stuff.
Yeah.
And Emily, shout out to Emily, who is an actual geologist, who was saying, I think this gives some cool background points for the research that Tchaikovsky put into this, because at the end of the book, he even specifies, one of the pages here, a big thank you to my scientific advisors, and he goes ahead and lists several advisors that helped him make sure that he was accurate with all of this. Because Emily was mentioning how the Ice Age made sense, how that would actually work, the Ice Age on Earth, and then as the ice melted away, the toxic waste from the past would actually destroy Earth, how that was geologically accurate. And on top of that, how there was an offhand comment about when they were on the terraform planet, couldn't have access to fossil fuels because obviously organics weren't around long enough to create fossil fuels.
Yeah.
Just a cool aside to go, he thought about that. So I think I might raise my rating after this or lower it. We'll have to have another conversation with you. I don't know, because I love a lot of what it did, but you're also right about the tech was just there. So I don't know.
I love a bunch of little nuggets in there, especially. Yeah, I also noticed the fossil fuel one too, and I really enjoyed that. Just oh yeah, you're right. And how would that work? Like, man, that is the biggest form of fuel source, so they use more biological forms of machinery, which is cool. Yeah.
I guess I love this and wish there was more, to your point of with the spiders communicating, how they use webs to communicate in their different language. Maybe getting a little bit more of how the language worked would have been cool. If you went a little Tolkien-esque and went, here's how Elvish is. I'm asking for too much at that point, but
yeah, no, that would be more difficult than what the book's trying to go for.
All right, I want to go on to our last category of prose.
Yep.
What did you give it out of 5 stars?
I gave it a 4.25.
I thought
it was really great.
Yeah, 4.25.
Again, the complexity of so reason why I go above and beyond. I think all the stuff with the humans is really good.
Yes.
You know, like all the human prose is pretty standard, well done, great lines, overall very clear, like all that. The choices he makes with how he takes the spider's perspective of especially using the same names over multiple generations, being able to give us a connection to the character, Portia, but it's several different Portias. It's different spiders over the course of spider evolution. Really added, like, I was able to connect with them, but also they're different characters going through. Really great use of how he was able to get me to connect with a species, a character arc for a species rather than an individual character.
I'm curious because he did have a cool style with how that clinical description of just how the spider's point of view came. The portion of when Kern went mad. In the audiobook for you, how did that read? Because on I only physical read this, and I was curious how did they do it in the audiobook, because it looks here, you'll see the back and forth. You didn't touch the physical book, did you, as far as reading?
I was
this is how it looked. Like as it was going through, like, the actual.
Interesting.
So the difference between Kern's voice and the AI voice was left to right on the page, like next to each other.
Oh, cool.
So on a physical read, it was like, oh, neat. Like
it's literally happening at the same time.
In the audiobook, how'd that happen?
Back and forth. But it was broke. It wasn't one whole section and then another section. It was almost sentence by.
Oh, it's like, I'm sorry, but what ship? Let me see.
Well, it was like a whole thought. So to take this line, how it would be read in the audiobook would be, I'm sorry, but I cannot permit you to compromise the exaltation experiment at this time. What ship? Let me see the ship. What is coming from the ship? What is the steering ship of my ship? I understand that you have no other concerns, and I am allowed to tender such help as my priority allows. Earth has left any ship. It comes silently. They stopped sending so long ago. So cold, so cold. So let me out, you bitch, you witch, you Liza, you stole my mind. If you attempt to influence the planet, you will leave me no choice but take action against your vessel. Wake me up, speak, let me die, let me be something. That was the audiobook.
Nice. So
good
sentence to sentence.
The audiobook narrator did a good job separating them and rapid back and forth.
Oh, sweet. Okay. That's how it looked in there. So I guess it gets similar effect, but the little difference there of like you'd see, okay, that's how it actually looks.
Definitely a fun way to have it on the text.
Yes.
Yeah.
And an additional, I have a paragraph or two, a couple paragraphs to kind of give an example of what the prose was like, of just what I liked about this. And here we go. I'll open up to this page. I'm gonna cheat 4 paragraphs. Okay. So this is just to give an example piece of what the prose in this book's like. Okay. It's actually the beginning of a chapter, and this is coming right after Avrana Kern finds out the monkeys didn't make it, and that it's spiders. She just finds out it's not monkeys.
This is probably one of my favorite sections of the book.
High above the green world, high above the sky nest and all the other industrious endeavors of its inhabitants, Dr. Avrana Kern tries to come to terms with what she has just been shown. She has seen these things before, these scuttling, spining monsters. The drone sent from the Gilgamesh saw one briefly before its demise. Cameras from the shuttle that she downed caught sight of them before it burned. She has known that there were things, unintended things, down on Kern's world, the serpents in her garden. They were not part of the plan, the ecosystem so carefully designed to provide a home for her chosen. She has known for lifetimes that they were there, but she has found within herself an almost infinite capacity to overlook. She can reel back in horror one moment, demanding, "What have you done with my monkeys?" And a mere decade later, she has almost forgotten hidden subroutines coding in this offending memory until it no longer irritates the oyster of her mind. The electronic interior of the Sentry Pod is cluttered with such cast-off memories and the understandings that she cannot bear to have it as part of herself. They are lost thoughts of the home that she will never see. They are pictures of arachnid monsters. They are images of a barrel burning as it strikes atmosphere, all gone, excised from her functioning mind, and yet not lost. Eliza never throws anything away. Avrana has always returned to the certainty that her plan for this world has succeeded. What else is there for her, after all? For untold ages, she has orbited in silence, broadcasting her never-ending examination questions at a heedless planet. For untold ages, she slept, the robust systems of the Sentry Pod doing their diligent best to stave off the inching encroachment of decay and malfunction. Whenever Avrana awoke, at longer and longer intervals, screaming and clawing at the inside of her tiny domain, it was to cringe before an indifferent cosmos. Just kind of a section there to go, that's some of his prose, and that's Avrana Kern's perspective. It's a little different with the spiders, but something like that just gives you that.
The oyster of her mind, which in the description of this hybrid of machine mind and human decaying body. Yeah. So good.
Really great prose. Fantastic book. I hope we did this justice.
I hope so.
Especially for Library of Viking, Johan, it's one of his favorite books. He gives 5 stars. He loves the book.
He has good taste when he agrees with us.
Of course, of course. Mm-hmm. Well, that was another Tutor Ramble book review. I guess next episode will be what, Rich?
I don't know.
We'll figure it out right after this episode. All right.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.